What is going on, boys and girls of YouTube? We have another top 5 list coming in today, doing the top 5 mids.
Yes,
I saw it
sir.
requested a bunch. Plus, I feel like that's one of the ones where maybe every god, every mage isn't good. Where like hunters, it seems like every god can be played. Solo lane, every god can be played. So we're jumping into it. We're going to talk about it, talk about the builds, talk about the playstyle, talk about where they excel, and kind of what we've been seeing very consistently. Number 1 is going to be weird. This is heavily like casual ranked based. Been playing only ranked lately, and this is the number 1 god is just, it hurts my soul, and it's not soul, that it is number 1. So let's get into it. Talk about these top 5. We'll go 5 to number 1. Number 5 on our list is the Morgan, which really shouldn't be that surprising. Morgan has been extremely consistent. She's still one of the most aggressive mages there is in the game. With the amount of rotations and how important rotations are, a guy like Morgan just excels. You don't know where she is because of her invis. She can consistently be creating pressure through her fast clear, through her poke, through the unknowing. You don't know where she is when she stealths. You don't know if she's going in. You don't know if she's rotating back. And that is what makes her such a big threat and pulls her into that number 5 slot. You're going upgraded temporal beads, which are going to be god tier on her, by the way. If you ever need to be hyper aggressive or you're fighting and someone goes on you, it's pretty much going to instant reset your abilities, which is just disgusting. If you really, it's just disgusting what it does. And then we have the reflect Aegis. Now to note, before we get into the actual build, little Jimmy, Interceptor, the thing you pick up from the obelisk, it reveals where you are when you're stealth. Just so you know, if you pick that thing up and you run around in stealth, it will show where you are all the time. It does not go to stealth at all. I will know where you are. Everyone will know where you are. So probably don't pick that up when you're playing the Morgan, for the love of everything in this universe. Then we're starting off with the Sands of Time, which will be finished into a pendulum. You're going to go Spear of Deso. All of the pen items got buffed a while ago, and they're god tier. They have been a top tier item for a while. This is a super core build you're seeing. We're going Spear of Deso into Divine Ruin. In some world where there's no healing and you don't want to get that Divine Ruin flat pen, because you are playing Morgan and Polynomicon is so important, what you would do is you could go Polynomicon here instead of the Divine Ruin. Then you could go Staff of Mirrodin here, and then you would go Obshard, and then you go Rod. But this is going to be a more consistent core build. There's always going to be healing in the game. Divine Ruin and Spear are fairly cheap items with insanely high power paired with really good stats because of the magical penetration. It's just going to make you do more damage. Then a Poly to add to your burst off of your combos. If you're consistently one-shotting without the Poly, swap this out. This could be Staff of Mirrodin for the CDR, which you would really, get a lot out of. Or it could be the Soul Reaver, your choice. But this is going to be the more consistent build that I suggest you try first. Then Obshard, it got a super buff. It's cheaper and has 100 magical power on it. It's nuts. And then we're going into Rod, and you're going Calamitous Rod, which is going to be the one that pulls down the Meteor. Realistically, you're not going to be consistently hitting that Meteor. You do have the opportunity kind of to because of the stun combo you have on Morgan, but it's not going to be super consistent. This build does just slap on Morgan, does insanely well. And as I already mentioned, why she's good in the meta. On top of that, your early lane clear and pressure is nuts. You should just absolutely walk into the lane and pretty much gain control of the lane instantly, which would be very, very valuable for your jungler and his early rotations and his farm. So you not only help yourself, then open the map up to yourself, you open it up to your jungler, which makes the game a lot easier for them to play. And that is why Morgan is where she is. Some of her better matchups, really good against Merlin, Raijin, Janus, just super easy to poke and play around and dive and kind of catch off guard. It isn't limited to just these gods. Morgan, if you're being aggressive and you're catching anyone off guard, if you're able to stealth in unknowingly, well the other team doesn't know, and then you get a combo off, it's nuts. I have weak against Scilla. Scilla, because the second you stealth, if Scilla roots your fake you, it'll hit you too. The AoE root will hit you too. So that's a hard counter. Zeus, because the AoE will instantly bring you out of your stealth. And then Tmat just has a good matchup. Tmat has so many good matchups and it's easy to turn. CC immune ult and things like that make it very hard to get full combos off on the Tmat. So Tmat ends up being a very, very strong pick against the Morgan. That's just how it's been for a long time. And Tmat being a strong god, isn't really surprising. Shouldn't really surprise anybody else. Next up, nothing too spicy, but it's someone's favorite god. Scilla. You guys love this god. Everyone loves Scilla. I don't know why. I mean, Scilla is one of my favorite gods, and I don't even know why. She just feels good. She feels she's consistent. She does what she needs to do. She's playmaking. She has good mobility. She does a little bit of everything. The build, pretty much the exact same as the Morgan, oddly enough, for me. Once again, you can swap out Polynomicon for Soul Reaver. You can also swap it out for Staff of Mirrodin if you want more CDR. But this build will cause you, once you finish these, you have starter items, sands, you finish spear, you finish divine ruin, you will slap. The one good thing is with Scilla, the Calamitous Rod will land a lot if you hit a root combo. So if you land your root and then you 2, the Calamitous Rod, that meteor coming down, will hit a lot. It'll be a lot more consistent for you in the mid to late game. So that's extra damage for you, which is nice. This combo is just filthy. You just one-shot with Polynomicon. The 1-2 auto combo one-shots. You don't have to use your ultimate. It's a very, very nice combo, and it's really good counter to any assassins that are diving you because your root is a hard counter to those assassins. Super strong god in the meta. Good clear, good rotations, safe because of the long dash. Doesn't have a lot of terrible counter picks. You have some bad matchups, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Start's pretty standard. Build is very standard. You're essentially clearing and rotating. Clearing and rotating. You want to sit in the back of all the team fights, stay near your hunter. With these builds, you're able to kill the front line because of the amount of pen you have. You're sitting on a large amount of pen once you finish the Ob Shard. So any solo laners diving you and he supports in your face, they will die. On top of the fact that your abilities give you some penetration on Scilla, which is nice, which causes you to do even more damage to those gods. She just excels. Her ult hits so hard. The amount of power you're getting in the game right now is ridiculous. She kind of does it all. She's great for securing objectives. She's great for consistent pressure in team fights. She's good when you're positioning properly. She does a lot of it all. Strong against Raijin, because the second Raijin goes into your ult, you can ult him and one-shot him. Vulcan, because it's just kind of easy to hit your root combos on Vulcan and not get poked because of your good range. And then Hera, because you also have that root combo on to Hera's ultimate, which will kind of get it off of you and peel it or just insta-kill it, which is just another good matchup. Once again, you're not limited to these 3 gods. They're just 3 that I wanted to mention because I could. I mean, there's a lot of matchups that can go your way very easily, like the Morgan. We talked about Morgan can be kind of iffy against the Scilla. Scilla can have a great matchup against Morgan. Can also be kind of rough if you're playing it incorrectly. Just gotta learn your matchups. Weak against Thoth, because Thoth can range poke you. You won't be able to get in range of Thoth, and Thoth will be able to hit you for most of your health. It's a very scary matchup. Tmat, just because Tmat, once again, CC immune all, easy to dive onto you. It's kind of scary. And then Janus, just because it's hard for you to consistently hit the Janus. The Janus will mainly be throwing abilities over walls. And if the Janus is targeting the backline, able to get into the backline onto you as a Scilla, it's really hard. I mean, you're never going to hit any root combos. You're going to have to be tuning over the wall. It's going to be rough. So that's Scilla, number 4 on our list. I love Scilla. Like, Scilla is one of my favorite gods. I think I'd rather play Scilla than any of these gods I'm mentioning. So just know that if you see me playing Scilla a lot, if I get mid lane, that's why. So it's number 4 on our list. Number 3 on our list is Soul. We talked about Soul for about 2 seconds. Got to bring her up. The amount of everything she does, it hurts my soul. It hurts me. She has one of the best lane pressuring kits of all time, and it's mainly because of her passive. She's got really good poke, really good wave clear out of her 2, safe because of her 3, and turn potential because of her 3. And then her ult, if you did not know, gives her a little bit of CC immunity, which if you're using properly is cracked, as well as self-peel and an immense amount of burst damage. So you have a high, consistent damage god with sustain, especially with the items we're going to be building. And then you pair with extra burst out of the 2, extra sustain out of the 1, out of the 3, and then an ult to just kind of seal it all in. It's a scary thing. It's very hard to play against a good soul player who's using her passive properly. Now the build, we're going Gilded Arrow because it's going to make our auto attacks hit harder. It's going to make our clear better, and it's going to make that passive, once it's built, just absolutely wreak havoc. It's also going to be giving us that attack speed and the extra bonus gold, which is going to be very nice. Then we are going into, I have Tiny Trinket in here. I will fix that. That is incorrect. You should be going Ring 1 and building into a Ring of Akate. That's going to give you good power, good attack speed, good lifesteal. So you get, extra clear. You got the good clear. You got the attack speed, so you can consistently build up the passive and do damage and chase and fight and do whatever you want, farm. Then you have lifesteal for sustain, which is going to be pretty key. And on top of that, if you've never noticed the passive on Ring of Akate, I'm not gonna lie, I knew what the passive was. I didn't know it was this severe. Yeah, so anytime you hit an enemy, you get a passive stack, right? And you put a debuff on them. You increase your power by 5%, reduce their power by 5%. So you basically steal 15% of their power, give it to yourself. That's a hard swing. That is not fun to deal with, and it's very underrated. Then we're going to Spear of Deso because of the cost, the amount of power, and the stats on it. Getting flat pen built into this all the time, and then having cooldowns, so you're able to spam a little bit more, be a little bit safer. Very, very strong combo. And this is going to pair nicely with the rod that we're going to build. And that's because of the high power. You're getting 30 more power than you are in Ring of Kate. You're getting 30 more power than you are on Telkine's Ring. But Telkine's Ring is giving you more attack speed, more building of that passive, and just doing raw, consistent damage. And then it adds even more into your auto attacks with that passive being absolutely ridiculous. Then Nimble Rod. We're going to finish this Nimble Rod as soon as we can. So once Telkines is finished, full Nimble Rod is going to be finished. This is going to give us a lot of power, as you expected. Going to give us percent pen, so we're shredding through tanks. And then the passive. On top of the already Rod passive, we are then getting 2% attack speed for every 40 magical power. Yes, you're a little bit lower magical power because we're not going a starter with a ton of magical power, but that doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't matter because between this item, this item, this item, this item, you're going to be right at that almost cap attack speed. And on Soul, that's too deadly to pass up. It's way too deadly to pass up. And then we're finishing the build with an Ob Shard, high power, good cost item, plus you get that other 20% pen. So you're sitting on 30% pen and you're killing anybody you want to kill. We talked about how she does in lane. Her rotations are kind of filthy because you pretty much enter every fight with a slow, and it's an AoE slow, and you're able to hit anyone you really want to with that ability. And you also don't have to feel too scared because between your Aegis and your 3, you can buy yourself 6 seconds of kind of just running away, being untargetable, which is just scary to deal with. Matchups wise, I threw Vulcan in here. Vulcan should be obvious, easy. Morgan's a pretty good matchup because if you time your 2 out anytime Morgan wants to stealth, you'll reveal her. And then Agni, because Agni's going to have mini pauses every time Agni goes to bomb. Because of this, you're actually easily able to sidestep out of Agni bombs when you're positioning properly and using your 3. And you could also catch Agni off guard with your ultimate because Agni will be mini stunned. So if you drop your ult at that moment, you gain CC immunity, you won't be stunned, and the Agni will take a large amount of damage. Weaker matchups, Thoth again. The one good thing you have going for you is sustain. Except for Thoth, it's going to be building Divine Ruin. It's going to be outrange poking you. It's going to be scary. Scilla, just a stronger matchup because Scilla has high burst and can maintain her distance from you if she's playing well. If she's not, you'll be able to style on her because you can just alter all and kind of combo her. Then Tmat, that dodge, man, or that dive. The dive from Tmat is a very hard thing to deal with because that Tmat can play range, can poke you, can be annoying. And then the second Tmat wants to go in, full dive, tanky god, hard to deal with, not fun. So that is why Soul, I almost said goal. I don't know why. That is why Soul is number 3 on our list. Number 2 on our list is Tmat. Once again, please remember this is casual ranked tier list. Please, please, please. Tmat, you guys already know. You're going the Pendulum, you're going the Spear, you're going the Divine Ruin. We're going the Staff of Mirrodin here. And it sounds kind of weird because on Tmat, your ult is a little bit different than on most gods' ults. But if you're able to get, your ult up, use it in a team fight and then use it again and because you get a kill and get another chase slow, it can turn a lot of fights, and it's just a strong item, high power, cooldown, which is going to be super valuable for you, that penetration being online. And this is another time you can swap this item so easily out for a Soul Reaver anytime you don't care about having CDR. If you feel comfortable with the way the game's going, you can go Soul Reaver. You do not have to go Staff of Mirrodin. It's just a very, very strong item right now because they buffed the passive. The passive is very, very valuable. Now, I haven't mentioned that on the other gods that I talked about Staff on. Staff has a longer period of time for that passive proc, so you get more out of it. You get more abilities off, you get that cooldown put onto more abilities, you get a lot of value out of this item. Allows you to hit your 1 and 2 or 3 times with this god, and that's scary. Thinking that you're going to see a Tiamat 1 3 times in a row is a scary, scary thought. Then the Ob Shard for more pen, and then the Rod, you're going to finish Calamitous Rod last. That Calamitous Rod is rarely going to be hitting unless you're doing the knockup form. That's when it's going to be hitting the most often. I haven't really talked about the ability leveling on the other gods. For the most part, it should be pretty obvious. Most gods, you're maxing X ability, then you're maxing X ability, then you're maxing your ult, then you're maxing X ability. This is a little bit different because you want to get that 3 leveled up at a decent time, because having that 3 leveled up reduces the cooldown, which makes you a lot safer, and actually you just are able to be more aggressive because you feel safe all the time, which is nice. Good matchup, Zeus, because you can range poke Zeus, and the slow just kind of shreds Zeus. Your ult slow is ridiculous against Zeus. Same with Vulcan, easy to sit on. And then Agni, anytime Agni kind of dashes away, you're easily able to chase with your dive part of your comp, part of your abilities. I don't know why I said comp. There are many other good matchups you have. Tiamat is not something that's fun for anyone to really play against. Nobody has insanely good matchups against Tiamat, so remember that when you are picking and playing this god. I have weak against Morgan. Morgan's like either or, okay? So I think Tmat can be good into Morgan, really, really good into Morgan, or really, really bad. A good Morgan player that is catching you in your range stance is going to hurt you. But if you're warding properly and positioning properly and not letting her get to you without you being ready to go in melee stance with Aegis up, whatever, then you'll have a good matchup. It's super, it can be either or. That's why I have her listed like this. Scilla, similar situation. Or if you're keeping that range and poking, you'll be doing great. But if you're allowing Scilla to kind of free cast on you and position how she wants and she's hitting root combos on you, you're going to be at a bad time. And then Janus, one of those situations too, where Janus can be throwing everything over the wall. You're not gonna be able to consistently sit on Janus. You're not gonna be able to chase and keep up with Janus, and that's a scary thing, but it's only gonna be against very good Janus players. Please remember that. These strong and weak matchups are not live or die by. You don't have to 100% focus on them. They don't mean, oh shoot, they picked an Agni, I have to play Tmat. That's not how it works. It's just for you to know a little bit more about the matchups and kind of read into how they go, and then you can think, you can focus on how you want to play each matchup because of how you think it should go. That's number 2 on our list. Number 1 on our list, I think, is going to piss some people off, but I also think you need to listen to what I say here because it's ridiculous how common this god is right now. When I say common, this god has been played in every single ranked game I've played, and I've been playing in a lot of these Masters GM lobbies as they've been building up. Basically, like I was like 1700, and the next highest the GM players were like 1750 at that time. Every game this god has been there, every single game, and it's actually the most annoying god in the game right now. I hate it. So Mindy plays the hell out of this, but if he's not top pick, I've been banning it. I don't even want to play against it. It's that bad. And when I say every game, I mean every single game has this god in it, and he's controlling all the games. I'm not going to sit here and make some stuff up as, oh, Thoth is just great now because of this or that. I think Thoth has probably been pretty good for a while. I think the fact that actives now can be on such short cooldowns makes late game Thoth insanely difficult to consistently die because his actives are always up. And I think that's where the biggest threat is coming into play. Outside of the fact that this god has the longest range in the game, should pretty much never be out of position unless the solo and the jungler are double diving you in team fights, and you don't have anything to use for safety, like a tower, Phoenix, a support player helping you, a hunter killing them while they're trying to kill you. You do so much damage. Your ult is hitting for 60 to 70% of these squishies' health. And that's at whatever range you're hitting it at, point blank, far away, whatever. Your 1 is basically has no cooldown with these builds because every time you hit your 1, it reduces the cooldown over and over again. So if you're hitting your 1, it's going to be back up. If you hit it again, it's going to be back up. It's never going to stop being up. And then with these builds, you're just getting so much power and pen that you can shred through everybody. You're doing true damage to the squishies. You're able to kill the tanks with the Staff of Mirrodin into the Obshard. It hurts. I do not like playing against this god. It is very unfun. It is like a lesser skilled Janus that is pretty much always beating your ass over the wall, and it is just bad times. Bad times. Same build. The mage builds are pretty consistent. If you're watching any of the pro players or, pro players from last year that have been streaming, they're running very, very similar builds now, which is pretty much, this is kind of the build, at least this core 3 items were something as soon as they buffed them last season, I was telling you guys probably what you'd be building on most mages, just like a pen build, but the staff got a massive buff, so it is crazy value. You can get 2 to 3 dashes off of this whenever you ult proc, which is crazy. Obshard is even better because it has more power, and then the rod is pretty much the same as it's always been, except for we have a higher tier rod that we can build for the very, very late game. Thoth has good matchups into most mages. There are very few mages that are going to outplay a Thoth. A Morgan that's catching you through invis will hurt, but everyone else, Raijin ult, you ult, you kill her. Scilla ult, you ult, you kill her. Nuwa can't move because you have max range and you're able to poke her out. Even on these matchups, like I mentioned Morgan, even on Agni, you can outrange poke. Tmat, you can outrange poke if you're playing properly. You have very good matchups on everybody. Your bad matchups kind of come into the assassin and solo area where these warriors and these assassins will be blinking on you and trying to make your life hell. So as long as you position out of the fight or far enough away from those solos and those junglers so they can't blink on you, if you make it impossible to blink on you at the start of the fight, they'll go on somebody else eventually. So you pretty much just sit back and say, hey, you guys go in. As soon as you see them in combat, you can fight because that means they can't get to you. Just watch your positioning. Pay attention to the way these high-level mids are playing this god because it is horrible to deal with. I absolutely hate it. I truly hate it. I'd rather ban this than any other god in the game right now if we're not going to play it. I can't stand it. It's so frustrating. And it almost came out of nowhere. I mean, I've always kind of been annoyed by Thoth, and I know a lot of you guys have too because you come in my chat, you tell me about it. It's just to the point now where there's so much stuff going on, so much damage, and so many actives to try to keep track of with the short cooldowns that it makes it hard to consistently dive any mage, and then Thoth just sits back farther than everybody else, which makes it 10 times harder to dive. So Thoth is our number 1. I hope talking about this and showing you guys the builds and breaking down why and where and how and who and what these gods are doing helps you guys, because that's all I'm doing this for. I mean, I can go play a game and I'd probably have a little bit more fun than recording these videos, to be honest, but I want you guys to know, I want to share the experiences with you, and I want you guys playing good stuff so you guys are having a better experience too and playing the game and winning and, making the overall rank game experience better for everybody. That's the video. I hope you liked it. I'll see you all in the video tomorrow. Make sure you hit the like button. I think we have 1 or 2 more days left of the Nexus competition, so please use the nexus.gg/weekend link. We were in second. I don't know what we're at now. Hopefully we stay in the top 3 so we get something in game. That'll be dope. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you all in the video later tomorrow, the next day, and the next day.